Society loves to peddle this tragic little lie that a mother's job is never done. Ah, what a complete and utter nightmare. I am 103 years old, Sugar. My shift ended a very long time ago. The world expects us older women to act like a perpetual safety net for our 40 and 50-year-old children. People think we have nothing better to do. They want a free, on-call babysitter so they can go on weekend trips. They expect a fully funded emergency financial rescue station when they overspend. They even treat us like a convenient emotional dumpster for every minor inconvenience in their lives. Well, I refuse to play that game anymore. You cannot have a happy ending to a miserable journey, darling. My true longevity secret is not choking down green celery juice every morning. It is not doing yoga at the crack of dawn. It is certainly not blind subservience to my adult family members. My secret is building iron boundaries. I ruthlessly cut off 5 specific favors to protect my physical energy and keep my brain sparkle completely intact. I stopped sacrificing my daily peace for their constant chaos. My time belongs to me now. Let me tell you exactly what favors I canceled so you can finally lock your doors and enjoy your own beautiful kingdom. Welcome to the reality of aging, Sugar. You spend your entire youth raising these children. You feed them, you clothe them, you teach them how to use a spoon. You expect them to become self-sufficient adults. You expect to finally rest. But society plays a cruel trick on mothers. Society tells your children an awful lie. Society tells them your door is always open. Society tells them your energy is limitless. That is a dangerous falsehood. We have to fight hard to protect the time we have left. We have to build iron fences around our time. We have to guard our hard-earned resources. People will trample all over your flowers. You must defend your garden. You must build strict boundaries. I took out my metaphorical scissors. I started cutting strings. The first string was the heaviest. I officially resigned from my unpaid job as the on-call babysitter. The phone rings at 4 on a Friday. It is always a Friday afternoon. My youngest daughter has a frantic tone in her voice. She needs a massive favor immediately. She and her husband want a spontaneous weekend trip. They want to go wine tasting in the valley. She expects me to become an emergency babysitter. She thinks my schedule is completely empty. She thinks old people just stare at the wall all day. She is terribly mistaken. My days are incredibly rich. My days are full of quiet joy. I love my grandchildren dearly. They are beautiful little creatures. But they are exceedingly loud. They sound like a stampeding herd of buffalo. They bring large plastic toys. Those toys have flashing neon lights. Those toys play repetitive electronic music. The noise drills directly into my skull. It shatters my delicate peace. They drop sticky fruit juice boxes on my vintage rugs. They ask me 400 questions every single minute. At the end of a weekend visit, my bones ache deeply. My head throbs with pain. I feel like a deflated old balloon. I used to endure it in silence. I swallowed my deep exhaustion. I smiled right through the physical pain. I wanted the world's best grandma mug. Well, I threw that cheap mug in the trash. I realized a very harsh truth. Sacrificing my physical health for their weekend getaway is absurd. It is a terrible and unfair trade. I need my physical strength. I need my quiet daily routines. I tell my daughter the absolute truth. I keep my voice sweet and calm. I say I love the kids. I say my schedule is absolutely packed. She demands to know my exact plans. She wants a valid excuse for my refusal. I owe her no explanation whatsoever. My house, my rules. I tell her my peace of mind is my top priority. I tell her to pay a local teenager to watch them. She huffs and puffs into the receiver. She tries to lay on a massive guilt trip. Ah, I let the guilt bounce right off my chest. I hang up the phone gracefully. I sink back into my plush velvet armchair. I pick up my Sunday crossword puzzle. The beautiful silence wraps around me like a warm blanket. My brain sparkle returns immediately. Now let us discuss the second chopped favor. I completely shut down the Bank of Mom. I closed the emergency financial rescue station forever. I have a 50-year-old son. I lovingly call him Sonny Boy. He is a grown man with silver hair. He has a large mortgage. He has a lovely wife. He also has a massive spending problem. He lives a complete fantasy life. He buys expensive things he cannot actually afford. He wants to impress neighbors he does not even like. He buys a flashy new boat. He buys premium imported golf clubs. He leases a gigantic luxury truck. Then the inevitable financial disaster happens. The massive credit card bill arrives in the mail. The blind panic sets in. He drives that ridiculous, oversized truck to my house. He knocks softly on my kitchen door. He walks in wearing a tailored designer suit. He puts on a sad and pathetic puppy face. He tells a long story about inflation. He blames the current economy. He blames his unreasonable boss. He blames everyone but himself. Then comes the big ask. He needs a small loan to float him through the month. He promises to pay it back quickly. He never pays it back. He views my retirement account as his personal safety net. For years, I played the heroic savior. I wrote the heavy checks. I depleted my own savings. I thought I was helping him survive. I was actually just enabling a very large toddler. Then I realized my ultimate truth. My money is not a slush fund for his bad decisions. My money is the thick armor protecting my independence. It buys my high-quality fresh groceries. It pays for my urgent roof repairs. Most importantly, it guarantees my absolute thermostat sovereignty. I am a very old woman. My blood is incredibly thin now. I get painfully cold very easily. I demand a deeply warm environment. I keep my house at a toasty 78 degrees all winter long. The monthly gas bill is astronomical. I gladly and happily pay it. I refuse to turn down my heat to fund his country club membership. I will not wear 3 heavy sweaters in my own living room so he can buy more golf clubs. I look at him across the marble kitchen island. I look directly at his shiny, expensive watch. I say no. I say it without blinking an eye. He is completely stunned. He gets very defensive and loud. He tries to negotiate a better deal. He asks how I can let my own flesh and blood struggle. I use my favorite gray rock method. I become completely uninteresting and blank. I become a solid brick wall. I do not justify my choice. I do not show any anger or emotion. I simply sip my cold tap water. I tell him he is a very smart man. I tell him he will figure it out on his own. Closing the bank was the most loving thing I ever did. It forced him to face the brutal math. It forced him to finally grow up. My bank vault is firmly sealed. My house is incredibly warm. My mind is entirely at peace. Society wants older women to feel guilty about these firm choices. They want us to shrink quietly into a dark corner. They want us to apologize for existing. I refuse to apologize for taking up space. I refuse to apologize for keeping my own hard-earned money. I worked my entire life to build this exact reality. I scrubbed dirty floors. I balanced checkbooks at midnight. I earned every single ounce of my current freedom. Giving that precious freedom away is a complete insult to my younger self. I honor my past by fiercely protecting my present. The adult children must learn to paddle their own canoes. They cannot ride in my boat forever. My boat is currently closed to all passengers. I am sailing smoothly on a very quiet lake. The water is exceptionally beautiful today. Let us talk about the third favor. I officially resigned from my unpaid position as the exhausting holiday feast host. Society paints this beautiful picture of the devoted grandmother in a floral apron. She pulls a perfect golden turkey out of the oven. She smiles warmly at her enormous gathered family. Ah, that picture is a complete and utter trap. For over 4 decades, I woke up at 4 in the morning every single Thanksgiving. I wrestled with a frozen 20-pound bird in a freezing cold kitchen. I rubbed cold butter under the skin with my bare hands. I baked 3 different kinds of pie from scratch. I peeled massive mountains of potatoes until my knuckles physically bled. I scrubbed the wooden baseboards on my hands and knees. The guests arrived at noon sharp. My adult children immediately walked into the living room. They collapsed onto my nice sofa. They drank my expensive red wine. They screamed at the television screen, watching grown men chase a leather football. I spent the entire afternoon sweating over a hot stove. We ate the massive meal in 20 short minutes. Then they went right back to the sofa to take a heavy nap. I stood over the kitchen sink for 2 straight days. I scrubbed bacon grease off the giant roasting pan. My lower back screamed in absolute agony. My feet swelled up like tight water balloons. I felt like a hired servant in my own dining room. I decided I wanted to actually enjoy the holidays before I die. I called a mandatory family meeting. I stood at the head of the dining table. I laid down the new law. I provide the house and my lovely presents. They must bring all the prepared food. They must bring their own heavy plates. They must wash every single dish before they leave my driveway. I told them my terms very clearly. If they refuse to cook, we will order Chinese takeout in plastic containers. Handing over that heavy roasting pan literally gave me 10 extra years of life. I sit on the sofa now. I drink the wine. I let them scrub the grease. The fourth favor I cut off is being a convenient, emotional dumpster. My children love to use their cell phones as a literal trash can. They call me up to dump all their daily garbage into my brain. My oldest daughter calls on her commute home. She complains for 40 minutes about her passive-aggressivist boss. She whines about her terrible coworkers sending late emails. My son calls to scream about his neighbor building an ugly green fence. He complains about his wife spending too much money at the mall. They want me to listen to this endless negativity. They want me to absorb their heavy stress. They dump the emotional trash and then hang up the phone. They feel incredibly great. I am left sitting in my quiet house with a racing heart. My chest feels physically tight. My peaceful afternoon is completely ruined. Well, a 103-year-old nervous system cannot handle that kind of toxic pollution. I absolutely refuse to let them ruin the peaceful mood in my house. I started using a very effective strategy. It is called the gray rock method. You become as boring and unresponsive as a gray rock on the ground. When they call to complain, I do not offer any soothing advice. I do not validate their wild anger. I do not ask follow-up questions. I simply say and wow in a very flat voice. I stare at my beautiful garden while they rant. I let their chaotic energy bounce right off my invisible shield. Eventually, they get incredibly bored. They realize I am no longer a soft sponge for their daily misery. They stop calling to complain. They only call to share good news now. I protected my brain sparkle. I protected my absolute peace. The fifth and final favor is the most ridiculous one of all. I completely retired from my role as the family peacekeeper. My children are well into their late 50s and early 60s. They are fully grown adults. They have high blood pressure and gray hair. They pay massive mortgages to the bank. Yet, they still revert to angry toddlers when they step into my house. They argue bitterly over old memories. They fight about who broke a window in 1982. They bicker over the tone of a text message. They bring this exhausting drama directly into my living room. They look at me with wide eyes. They expect me to play the referee. They want mommy to bang a gavel. They want me to declare a clear winner. I refuse to participate in this childish nonsense anymore. The last time they started yelling in my kitchen, I did not intervene. I did not try to calm them down. I slowly walked over to the stove. I brewed a hot cup of peppermint tea. I poured it into my favorite china cup. I took a very slow sip. I looked them dead in the eye. I spoke with absolute terrifying calmness. I told them I retired from being a referee 50 years ago. I pointed a bony finger at the front door. I told those sunny boys to take their tedious arguments outside. I told them to solve their petty issues in their own expensive living rooms. I forbid them from making a mess in my sanctuary. They were completely shocked into silence. They packed up their coats and left immediately. It was absolutely glorious. You cannot control how other people behave. You can only control who gets access to your space. My house, my rules. I guard my gates with an iron fist. It keeps me young. It keeps me breathing. Society will definitely call you selfish. Let them talk their absolute nonsense. They do not understand the beautiful reality of aging. Keeping your time is not a crime. Protecting your energy is a basic human right. Saying no to a ridiculous demand is actually an act of deep love. It forces your adult children to stand on their own 2 feet. It finally forces them to grow up and act like real adults. You have already served your time in the exhausting trenches of motherhood. You packed the endless school lunches. You wiped the dirty noses. You paid the heavy bills for decades. You earned your golden badge of honor. You earned your completely quiet afternoon. Well, you earned the absolute right to simply exist without serving anyone else. Aging is a massive privilege. It is the perfect time to prioritize yourself without a single drop of guilt. You survived a very long and chaotic century. You deserve the softest chair in the house. I want you to do something very specific right now. Do not click on another video. Put your heavy phone down on the kitchen table. Stand up slowly. Walk over to your favorite window. Look out at the beautiful world outside. Notice the small details. Watch the green trees blow in the wind. Watch the wild birds fly across the sky. Take a very deep breath. Feel the clean air fill your old lungs. Exhale all that heavy family guilt. Forgive yourself for wanting a quiet life. Forgive your children for being foolish and demanding. Enjoy the brilliant sunshine on your face. Walk into your kitchen. Make yourself a hot cup of peppermint tea. Drink it in absolute beautiful silence. Smile at your own incredible survival. You built a wonderful life. You are the undisputed queen of your own castle. Lower your drawbridge for visitors on your own terms. Raise it back up when you feel tired. Defend your daily peace fiercely. Protect your precious brain sparkle. Sugar, I will be sitting right here on my plush velvet chair. I will be drinking my own tea. I will be cheering you on from a comfortable distance.